So, pardon me if you see me doing this because my sleeves are longer than my jacket. So, if I get a little animated up here and you see the sleeves come out, you're just going to have to deal with it. So, this morning's message, as you can see in the bulletin, is seeking contentment. So, listen to the news today just for a few minutes, and you will see people with all of the following emotions: anger, confusion, disappointment, sadness, happiness, envy, satisfaction, dissatisfaction, frustration, encouragement, discouragement, and the list goes on. Depending on what that subject is and how it touches you at the moment, you may also relate to something that goes on. How many of you here, honest show of hands, how many of you watch the news or get in a conversation with someone and find yourself going off the edge with one of these emotions? I'm going to raise two hands because I'm still in the workforce. So it's very easy to get caught up in the subject today. Matter of fact, I'm sure there's not one of us here this morning that have not heard from someone, maybe even including yourself, that I don't watch the news anymore because I can't stand to watch it, right? As I get in conversations with individuals every day, I often make the comment that the culture has shifted, and it has shifted mightily, and it's not coming back unless the Lord wills so. The culture has shifted so much. For those of us here that are children of the 60s, those were tumultuous times. But somehow we came back from that, and somehow all the anger that was there during the Vietnam War kind of ebbed away, and we came to our senses. That is, when I say our, my generation, and got back to it. And I think a lot of that has to do with things that were instilled in us as young people. If every one of us probably had a father or a grandfather that was part of the Korean War or World War II, and all of that, I think, came back, and we were finally able to come to our senses, get back to the workforce, and move away from Woodstock and all that stuff. Brings back memories, doesn't it? For some of you. So, this list is usually more negative than positive. Again, you turn on the news, you are going to see much more negativity than positivity. Matter of fact, news stations have to work very hard to point out positive things. Sometimes at the end of a newscast, they may point out a little highlight of something that was really good, a warm, fuzzy feeling, if you will. But these things can be for a moment, any one of these emotions, or they can be there for a while and hang around. And if they do hang around, then it's going to impact our day. So if we let some of these emotions, if you're watching the news early in the morning and you let that linger, it's definitely going to impact how we're going to relate to others during the course of the day. And if you take a few seconds and look at it from a distance, the bigger picture, if you will, it only takes a moment to realize that people are not happy. So I would ask you, as we go out in the workday and meet and greet people, for those that are not working, how do we let this affect us as Christians as we relate to others? You know, are we quickly dismissing it and moving forward, or are we letting it linger? A couple quotes that I want to read to you this morning. I always like to look for things that relate to the subject because it kind of sets the stage for what we're going to talk about this morning. So part of this process, which we're not going to talk about today, is complaining, right? I'm sure nobody here complains during the course of the week about anything. But if you do, complaining is like bad breath. How so, you say? You notice it when it comes out of someone else's mouth, but not your own. And that's a quote from William Bowen. Another quote that I found that I thought was interesting was, a man was marooned on a desolate island. After he had been there for 5 years, he was found and rescued. As he climbed into the rescue boat, the curious rescuers noticed 3 grass huts. "We thought you were alone. Why are there 3 huts?" they asked. The man replied, "The first hut is my home. The second is my church." "What about the third hut?" they asked. "Oh, that's the church I used to belong to." So the point is, we're never really happy, are we? It seems that way. So, people, when you turn that channel on, as you can see, we see it in society today, so much anger and frustration and complaining, and on it goes. You get the idea very, very quickly that people are not happy and not a lot of contentment. But everybody wants to be happy. Everybody here want to be happy? Thought so. Just thought I'd ask. We'd love to be happy all the time, wouldn't we? But it's elusive. Happiness only seems to occur at brief moments of time. And thankfully, we appreciate those brief moments. And let's talk about definitions for a minute. So, according to Wikipedia, here's what they say about happiness. Happiness is the context of mental or emotional states, is positive or pleasant emotions ranging from contentment, and of course that's the key word this morning, to intense joy. So everybody, in a sense, is searching for happiness, therefore contentment. But they may not realize that contentment's what they're searching for, right? We may not even realize that. So what is the definition of contentment? Contentment is the state, and I want you to listen to this very carefully because the last sentence, I think, spells it out the way it should be for us. Contentment is the state of being happy and satisfied. On Thanksgiving, when you think about all that you are grateful for, and that's coming up very soon, isn't it? Hopefully you feel a sense of contentment. If not, have another piece of pie, and then you will feel contentment. Contentment isn't an excited kind of happy. It's more like a peaceful ease of mind. And that's really what we're looking for, isn't it? That peaceful ease of mind. Contentment is such an elusive thing. And that's why we're talking about it this morning. Solomon said that there is nothing new under the sun. So we should not be surprised that the emotions we listed earlier were common to man right from the beginning. Now let's talk about Solomon for a minute. Solomon was the wisest man, right? Ever. But Solomon had it all. Now, I was going to read the scripture. In the interest of time, I'm going to hold that, but you'll find it in 2 Chronicles chapter 1, verses 8 through 12, that Solomon, when God asked him what he wanted, he said that he wanted wisdom. He wanted wisdom. I wonder how many of us, if asked the same question, would ask for wisdom. But because he asked for wisdom, God granted him it all. He had wealth, extreme wealth. He had the wisdom and he had everything he wanted. If you read the story of Solomon, you know all the wives, concubines he had. He was subject to it all. And in the end, what did he say? All is vanity. All is vanity. Emptiness, I heard that word. Yeah, it's all for naught, isn't it? So what are reasons why we are not content? There's probably a lot. I'm going to keep it very simple, and I'm going to keep it to 2 this morning. So, certainly, first and foremost, wanting more. And if you don't find yourself wanting more, I want to talk to you. Because that must mean that you are a lot more content than I am. It's a human thing to want more. Most people are seeking bigger, better, and more all the time. Even when we can't have what we would like, we dream about it and maybe envision what it would be like if we did. And if you don't think that's true, enter the lottery. Now, lottery just went up to a huge record. Somebody out there hasn't claimed it yet. But somebody won over $1 billion. Over $1 billion, and they're going to net, $700-800 million. I would imagine that there's some folks out there that probably thought, wow, what would that be like? Just a natural thing, right? What would that be like to win all that money? I could tell you that when we talk about the lottery, and there's a lot of people that play the lottery, do you think there's any Christians that play the lottery? Yeah. I wonder if Christians should play the lottery. I'm not going to answer that question for you. I'm just going to leave it as a question. Should Christians play the lottery? Because think about if, so let's give you an attitude, because attitude is part about what we're talking about here this morning. So, you play the lottery and you think it's not a bad thing. I'm not really gambling, I'm just playing the lottery, I'm choosing some numbers. And you win a great sum of money. Let's not talk about $1 billion, let's say you win $500 million. $500 million. And you say, okay, God, I'm not only going to give you 10%, I'm going to give you half of it. Well, first of all, it's all God's anyway, right? So now you feel that you've done a really good thing. You've given half that money away to all good causes, and now you've got half of it. So now, what do you do with that half? Where's your mind? What is your mind on? If you've ever thought about this, what it would be like to win that sum of money,